She thought I was too soft and wanted a partner who could challenge her. Now her life is a mess and I'm the one who ended up winning, hey, so I'm not great at telling stories, but here goes. I'm Rowan, 28, and my ex Isla is the kind of person who always thinks she knows better than anyone else. When we first started dating, things were great. At least I thought so. We clicked, had fun, and things were pretty smooth sailing for a couple of years. Then out of nowhere, Isla started talking about how she felt like I wasn't challenging her enough. We had been living together for a while at that point, and it was a small but noticeable shift in her attitude. She'd say things like, I just need someone who pushes me, or you're too comfortable with. Where you are, Rowan, I need someone who challenges me on every level. It was like the more she talked about it, the more I felt like I was being accused of not being good enough. It wasn't just that I wasn't challenging her enough. It was like she was looking for drama and she was convinced I wasn't providing it. At first, I tried to brush it off. I'm not the type to start arguments over nothing. I'm pretty easygoing, I guess, but the comments kept coming. One night we were sitting on the couch watching TV and she dropped this bomb. I think I need someone more intense, someone who makes me feel alive. And then she gave me this look, like I had just let her down in the most tragic way possible. I was hurt. Honestly, it was like she was telling me that who I was as a person wasn't enough, but I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. So I just shrugged and said, well, I guess I'm not that guy then. I wasn't expecting what happened next. The next few days, Isla was colder, more distant, and seemed like she was purposely testing my patience. She'd get frustrated over the smallest things, picking fights, making snide comments about my career or how I wasn't as ambitious as she wanted me to be. She'd always talk about how much she admired her friends' boyfriends because they were always on the go doing crazy things, taking risks, pushing boundaries. Meanwhile, I was just me, a guy who liked his job, didn't mind a quiet weekend, and didn't need to constantly prove something to the world, but she made it clear that that was boring to her. Wasn't just a personal preference. She made it sound like I was flawed for not living up to her standards. Then a few months ago, things took a dramatic turn. She sat me down and out of nowhere told me she thought we should take a break. She said she wasn't sure if she could stay in a relationship with someone who didn't challenge her. She wanted someone who could keep up with her. He said she needed someone who could handle her, and that person clearly wasn't me, I'll admit. I was crushed. I'd never been the type to beg for someone to stay with me, but it was hard to hear I didn't feel like I'd done anything wrong. And yet, there she was telling me I wasn't enough. But instead of begging, I agreed to the break and told her that I respected her decision. That's when the game started. Week later, I found out she had already started dating someone else. It hit me hard at first, but as I looked at the situation, I realized something. It was clear she hadn't wanted a break to figure things out. She wanted out and she was ready to move on to something or someone else. The guy she was with was a complete contrast to me, loud, impulsive, and all about taking risks. He was the kind of person she thought she needed. But here's where things took a turn for me. I didn't sulk. I didn't try to make her feel bad or confront her. Instead, started focusing on my own life, on improving myself on things that I wanted. I got into better shape, picked up a new hobby, and started a new project that had been on my mind for ages. The more I invested in myself, the more I realized I had been holding myself back for way too long. I hadn't been challenging myself either. Meanwhile, Isla's relationship with this guy began to unravel. It wasn't as perfect as she had hoped. He was wild and unpredictable, sure, but he also had some pretty big red flags. He didn't have the stability or the life goals she had expected, and they started to clash more. And more, her social media posts once, full of photos of them being all over. The place started getting more and more desperate. She posted these cryptic statuses about how hard things were and how she was still figuring things out. She even started reaching out to some of our mutual friends asking for advice on how to handle things. It wasn't long before I got a call from one of those friends. They told me that Isla had been talking badly about me behind my back, saying things like I wasn't good enough for her and that the relationship was never really a challenge. It wasn't a surprise, but hearing it from someone else made me feel like I had been right all along, and then things took a strange turn. A couple of weeks ago, I got a message from Isla. At first, I was tempted to ignore it, but something told me, I should read it. She said she needed to talk to me. She was in a really bad place and wasn't sure what to do with her life. So when I got that message from Isla, part of me knew exactly what she was doing. She'd been trying to reach out to me before, but it was always on her terms. The first few times I ignored it, but this time something was different. Maybe I wanted closure, or maybe I just wanted to see how deep her desperation had gone. Whatever it was, I agreed to meet her. We set up a time to meet at a coffee shop, and she texted me that she needed some support. Honestly, I wasn't sure what I was walking into. I showed up a few minutes early, and when I saw her sitting there looking all disheveled, it hit me. How much she had changed since we broke up. She wasn't the confident, demanding woman I remembered. She looked like she'd aged 5 years in the past few months. Her hair was unkempt, her clothes a little too casual for her usual polished style. I sat down across from her, and there was an awkward silence before she spoke. Rowan. I've made some mistakes, she started. Her voice was soft, almost defeated, which was a stark contrast to how she used to talk, loud, assertive, always demanding attention. I didn't say anything at first. I wasn't sure what she wanted from me. Things with Zach. They're not going well, she continued clearly, referring to the guy she jumped into things with right after us. He's not the guy I thought he was. He's reckless. He's hurting me in ways I didn't expect. I stared at her, waiting for her to keep going, but it was clear that she wanted sympathy. It's like she expected me to feel bad for her. The truth is, I didn't. Couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. Not after everything. I don't know what to do anymore, Rowan. She said, her voice trembling now. I'm scared, I thought. He was the answer I thought he was what I needed, but it's like every time I try to get close, he pulls away and I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I can keep going down this path. I didn't respond immediately because I was calculating my next move. I could have been the nice guy, given her the closure she wanted, but deep down I knew better. This wasn't about her needing support. This was about her not getting the chaos she'd asked for. She had been the one who pushed me out, told me I wasn't enough. Now she was running back to me because things weren't turning out the way she wanted. It made me sick. I'm sorry to hear that. I said my tone is neutral as I could make it, but I'm not sure what you expect from me. You didn't want to be with me because I wasn't challenging you enough. I'm not the one you turned to when things got hard, and now that it's all falling apart, you want me to pick up the pieces? She didn't seem prepared for that. Her eyes flickered, and I could tell she wasn't used to hearing someone talk back like that. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat, looking away for a second. I didn't mean for things to get this way. I thought I was doing the right thing, she stammered. I thought I needed someone who could push me, who would make me step out of my comfort zone, but now I don't know where I stand. You wanted someone intense, right? I said, leaning in a little. Well, you've got it. Zach's clearly living up to the image you wanted. The problem is, you didn't realize that chaos isn't the same as fulfillment. Her face flushed, and I saw a flash of anger. She hated hearing it, but deep down, I think she knew I was right. You're right about one thing, though, I continued, my voice low and steady. You never gave me the chance to be that person you were looking for because you were too busy convincing yourself I was the problem, but you've been running from your own reflection. Hila, it's not me you're mad at. It's yourself. Her face twisted with frustration, and I saw her eyes well up. With tears, she took a deep breath, clearly struggling to keep her composure. I don't want to go back to you, Rowan. She said, her voice almost pleading now. But I need something, anything right now. I'm not asking for us to get back together. I just need help. Can you please just help me? I sat back, folding my arms across my chest. The woman in front of me wasn't the one I dated. The confidence had cracked, and now I was staring at someone who was crumbling under the weight of her own choices. You've got a path. A lot of things to figure out, Isla. I'm not your therapist, and I'm not your safety net. If you're looking for someone to rescue you from your bad decisions, I'm not that guy anymore. She stared at me, and for the first time I saw doubt in her eyes. It was like a wall down, and I realized that this was her lowest point. But it wasn't just her that was causing this mess. Zach was a part of it too, and so was her need to keep chasing the wrong kind of validation. I guess you're right, she said quietly, her shoulders slumping as she stood up. I've made a mess of everything. As she turned to leave, something unexpected happened. Her phone buzzed in her hand, and she glanced at the screen. She froze. I couldn't see the message, but I could tell from her face that it wasn't good news. The urgency in her expression was unmistakable. I have to go, she said, her voice tight. Thanks for listening. And then she was gone. But that's not the end of it. A few days later, I found out that things were falling apart for her in ways I couldn't have imagined. Zach wasn't just reckless. He was a liar and manipulator, and the thing that bothered me the most was that I wasn't surprised, not one bit, but it gets worse. Remember how I told you that I wasn't the only one in her life that was messing things up? Well, turns out Isla had some other people in her corner who were just as toxic as she was. A few days after Hila left that coffee shop, things started to escalate in ways I never saw coming. Her behavior was already pretty erratic, but what really threw me off was that I began hearing rumors, things she'd said to people we both knew. It wasn't just the usual gossip. No, this was a whole new level of manipulation, and the more I heard, the more I realized how deep she'd sunk into her own web of lies. One evening, my phone buzzed with a text from a mutual friend, Noah. He was someone I'd known for years, and despite everything with Isla, I trusted him. The message was short, but it hit like a punch in the gut. Ila told everyone you were stealing from her, Sayed. You were secretly taking money from the shared account while you were living together. Did you know about that? I read the message twice, blinking in disbelief. Stealing from her. That didn't even make sense. I'd been careful with money always. Splitting things 50-50, I'd never touched any of her stuff, let alone dipped into any account that wasn't mine. It felt like a sick joke, but Noah wasn't the type to mess with me, especially not about something like that. I quickly shot back a reply, trying to keep my cool. What? That's insane. I never took anything from her. What else did she say? Noah's response was even worse than I'd expected. She said, "You've been stealing for months, Rowan. That's why she broke up with you." She claimed you've been draining the account bit by bit, she said. She finally caught on, and that's when she had to get out. I felt like the floor had dropped out from beneath me. I couldn't understand why she would say something like that, let alone tell people we knew. The lies were spiraling out of control. The more I thought about it, the more it seemed like she was trying to rewrite the past to make herself look like the victim. I couldn't just sit there and let her ruin my reputation. I called her the next day, knowing she wouldn't take the call at first. When she finally picked up, there was a long silence on the other end. Before she spoke, almost in a whisper, "What do you want, Rowan?" Her voice was flat, emotionless. "I heard what you've been saying about me stealing from you." I could feel my heart racing, the anger bubbling up. "Why are you spreading lies? Why are you trying to destroy my name?" She didn't respond right away. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line, like she was weighing her words. Then she sighed. "I'm not trying to destroy you, Rowan. I'm just trying to protect myself. You know how it is when things fall apart, right? People talk." I was furious. "No, I'm not protecting yourself. You're lying. You know I didn't take anything from you, but you're going around telling everyone that I did." Why? Didn't want to say this, but she hesitated, and I could hear her shift in her seat. "I just couldn't handle you anymore. You were always so passive. You didn't care about anything, and you were too complacent. I thought maybe if I made it look like I had to break up with you because you were some kind of thief, people would understand. I thought it would make it easier for me to move on without anyone blaming me." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't just an accusation anymore. This was a full-on manipulation strategy. She wasn't just painting me as a thief to her friends. She was trying to make me look like the villain in the entire story too. Cover up the fact that she'd made a terrible choice, gotten into a toxic relationship with Zach, and now needed to justify her actions. "So you're telling me you've been lying this whole time, that you're making up these stories just so you don't look bad?" My voice was shaking with rage now, but I couldn't stop myself. "You don't get to do that, Isla. You don't get to rewrite everything she didn't even sound apologetic." In fact, there was a coldness in her voice that made my skin crawl. "I don't know what you want me to say, Rowan. I'm just trying to survive. In a world where people expect me to have all the answers, I'm not going to let anyone think I'm weak." I felt like I was talking to a completely different person. The person I thought I knew had evaporated, replaced by someone who would do anything to avoid responsibility for her actions. "So what you've been lying to everyone, and you expect me to just let it slide?" I scoffed. "I'm done with this. You've made your bed, Ela, and you're not getting away with it." Before she could respond, I hung up. I spent the next few days trying to figure out how to clear my name. I wasn't just going to let her destroy me for something I didn't do, but it wasn't going to be as simple as just confronting her. No, I had to play the long game. A week later, I got the opportunity one needed. Noah, the same friend who had messaged me, called me up and asked if I wanted to meet. When I arrived at the bar, he was sitting at a table with a few other friends, including a guy I hadn't seen in years. Lucas, one of Isla's closest friends. As I sat down, Noah leaned in, speaking in a hushed tone. "Rowan, we need to talk. I think we've all been lied to." It turned out that Isla had been telling everyone a different version of events. She had spread the story about me stealing from her, but she'd also been telling people I was emotionally abusive, that I was manipulative, and that I'd been the one pushing her into a toxic relationship. She'd painted a picture of me as a controlling partner who had been holding her back. But now her lies were starting to unravel. Lucas had seen the real side of Ela, the manipulative, gaslighting side that she had hidden behind her confident, polished persona. He'd seen her twist the truth to suit her needs, and he was sick of it. He told me that she had already started doing the same thing to Zach, the guy she left me for. She was already driving him crazy, accusing him of things he hadn't done and making him feel like he was walking on eggshells. I don't know how much longer Zach's going to put up. With it, Lucas said she's good at making. People think they're the problem, but she's the one who's toxic. She's the one who's been manipulating everyone around her. That's when I realized something. This wasn't just about me anymore. Isla was playing this game with everyone, and she was digging herself deeper and deeper into a hole. The more I thought about it, the more I knew I had to expose her. If I didn't, she was going to keep using her lies to hurt everyone else in her path. But what she didn't know was that I had already started collecting my evidence. I had screenshots, messages, and witness accounts from friends who were starting to see through her act. The thing is, I wasn't just going to let her destroy my reputation. I was about to make sure the whole world knew who she really was, and when I finally shared the truth, everything she'd worked so hard to cover up was going to come crashing down. I had already started gathering evidence from the people who had witnessed her lies and manipulations. I kept track of all the messages, texts, and conversations where she twisted the truth to cherry. On top was when Lucas came to me saying he had a few recordings of phone calls where she was openly bad-mouthing me, but also revealing how she'd been doing the same thing to Zach. She was trying to control him the same way she tried with me. It was clear that her pattern was toxic and destructive, and I was ready to expose it all. I reached out to a few mutual friends who were still in contact with Isla, including Noah. He was on my side by then, knowing that everything Isla had said about me was a lie I told them. All to meet up at my place one evening to go over everything. When they arrived, I laid it all out for them, every text, every conversation, and every lie she told. I explained how she had manipulated people into thinking I was the villain and that I'd been stealing from her. But the most important part, the part that made my heart race with anticipation, was when I showed them the recordings Lucas had given me. As soon as they heard the evidence, there was no turning back. Noah's eyes widened, and he looked genuinely shocked. I can't believe she'd do this. We've all been played exactly, I said, my voice low and steady. She's been using everyone, manipulating us to feel sorry for her while she was the one tearing people apart. And now it's time to expose her. I posted the evidence, online screenshots of our conversations. The lies she'd spread about me, though, recordings of her bad-mouthing Zach and myself. I didn't just post it in one place. I made sure it went everywhere. I shared it with our friend group, our mutual acquaintances, and even made sure her new friends, people she was trying to impress, saw it too. I knew she would try to gaslight me into thinking I was the bad guy. That's what she always did, but this time I had the truth on my side, and the truth was undeniable. Layla's response was exactly what I expected. She tried to salvage her reputation by posting a long rant accusing me of being bitter and trying to ruin her life. She played the victim card like a pro, but this time, no one was buying it. People who had once supported her started reaching out to me, apologizing forever, doubting me, realizing that they'd been manipulated. What really hit her hard, though, was when Zach got involved. He had seen all the evidence and he was furious. I could hear the anger in his voice when he called me. I can't believe she's been doing this to me too, he said, his voice shaking with frustration. She's been accusing me of all kinds of things, just like she did to you. I didn't know she was this toxic. I'm done with her. Zach ended things with Hila shortly after that. And when he did, it was the final nail in her coffin. She was left alone with no one to blame but herself. The people who had once been in her corner now turned their backs on her, and the web of lies she'd spent months building came crashing down. For the first time in a long time, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't just about getting back at her. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my reputation, and my peace of mind. I didn't want revenge for revenge's sake. I wanted to show everyone the truth. And now everyone knew exactly who she was. Looking back, I can't say I'm proud of how everything went down, but I don't regret it either. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. And while I'm not an advocate for drama or petty revenge, learned that sometimes people like Hila need to be shown that their actions have consequences. I don't know if she'll ever truly change, but I do know one thing: I'm better off without her in my life. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for exposing her like this? I know I've been pretty harsh, but after everything she put me through, I feel like I had no other choice. What do you think?